Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 22, the 22nd episode of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you today on Facebook Live. And as usual, I think we should start by smelling a perfume. Now, what I would normally do is show off the bottle of the perfume that we're about to smell, but I've got a bit of a boring lab sample, I'm afraid, so we probably don't want to put that into the spotlight too much because it's not particularly photogenic. But it is the brand new release from Frederic Malle, which is always exciting. And so, just for the two of you out there who don't know what a Frederic Malle bottle looks like, it basically looks like this. And so this new release that I'm about to reveal to you comes in a bottle which is pretty much exactly like this, except that the name of the perfume is in Arabic, and so you would have Arabic text on the bottle with the English translation beneath it. So for a few of you out there, I suppose that means that you've already worked out that the first perfume we are going to sniff today is called The Dawn, or Al-Fajr, from Frederic Malle, made by Carlos Benaim, veteran perfumer who's responsible for several massive hits over the years. I'm cheating a little bit with this one because I have smelt it before, and in my characteristically geeky way, I've got lots and lots of thoughts about it. It's often the way with Frederic Malle releases that if you are a bit of a perfume geek, you tend to find yourself having lots to say about them. They provoke a lot of thought. By the way, I'm not ignoring any of the comments or anything that come up, but I will do the hellos as per usual after we've finished the first perfume. So please feel free to say hello and leave comments. And before I spray this, I'm just going to go on the tablet to make sure that everything is coming through fine. Looks like it is. So here we go. This is The Dawn, or Dawn, the latest release from Frederic Malle, composed by Carlos Benaim, as I said. Right, and I have tried this before, but just to go through the process of smelling it with you, I will do so now. And it's the opening stages of this scent that I really, really like, and I did from the moment I first tried it. But as I said, it does make me think lots of things. So if I don't get going with sort of explaining to you, Peggy, I have seen one comment. So Peggy says, I have audio but no video. Could anybody else who's watching just say whether you've got video coming through as well? Because if not, we have a technical issue and maybe we might need to start again. So Peggy, if I say hopefully it's just you, you will know what I mean. So could you, if you are watching, and if you wouldn't mind saying whether the video is coming through as well, that would be really great. Anyway. Okay, so just to do a sort of, a fairly objective, straightforward description of what this is. What you get here is a very, very strong leather scent. Almog says also audio only. Oh, and now Peggy says, there you are. Okay, right. And Gemma says, you have both. Okay, so maybe some kind of a Facebook internet issue, but I guess things are all right at my end. So if the video comes through eventually, and Almog says, I love your shirt. Thank you very much. I'm very fond of this shirt too. And Vitali says, all working fine, watching from Vienna. See, this is where I love the fact that you're all around the world. Oh yeah, good point, Marta. Marta says, I see and hear you, but we have to arrange smell. Yeah, that would be quite clever. If any of you could figure that out, please. Right, I will respond to all of you in due course after we've done this one. So what was I saying? This is a very, very, very strong woody leather opening. And when I say leather, it's also got that almost plasticky, but in a really, really attractive way, smell of shoe polish. You know how you sometimes love the idea of sinking your nose, not literally, but or bringing your nose close to a pot of shoe polish and smelling the leather of shoes. It's got that feel to it. Carlos Benaim hails originally from North Africa, which of course has a very, very strong tradition of creating beautiful leather goods, and so you kind of think that maybe he may have been inspired by that, but that's not all you get here. You also get a very strong spice facets, cinnamon, cardamom, and what comes across to me is again a very, very well judged, finely tuned, beautifully elegant, smooth, peppery, honeyed rose note, a really properly Arabian rose. So all of that is great, and the first time I smelt it, I actually did think to myself, wow, is this the first time that Frederic Malle has actually done an all-out Arabian leather scent? But as it goes along, it very definitely, and regular viewers, brace yourselves for this, it very definitely starts heading into, are you ready for this? Into woody-ambery territory, into the territory of those sorts of materials which we've actually ended up talking about quite a few times here on Love at First Scent, the sorts of materials that seem to be very prominent in modern masculine perfumery. Strong woods, but also quite abrasive, veering towards coarse, linked with equally abrasive, perhaps not quite well-rounded ambery notes. So that started making me doubt or qualify how much I love the scent. But then it kind of set me off on a whole train of thought as well about Frederic Malle and Frederic Malle's releases and his style and how his style has been changing. So just in terms of woody ambers, you know, I don't want to sort of dismiss a whole class of perfumery materials and say that I dislike them all, because it wouldn't be fair, but it also wouldn't be true. Generally speaking, I know that a lot of you also don't like aquatic materials. I'm not overly fond of them either, but they can be done very well. They can be used very well. They can be incorporated into scents extremely well. Just the other day, I was at Les Senteurs in London with some friends, and we smelt Healy's Sel Marin, and you're reminded of the fact that when you have a perfume like that, those aquatic materials can actually be used very well in the right context. I remember in Épices Marines from Hermès, they were used very interestingly as well. So the point I'm making is that there is no such thing out there as a completely pointless, horrible, awful perfumery material. And woody ambers have their place as well. I feel like I'm a little bit on repeat here, but I'm kind of championing the cause for Tomboy Neroli from Parlement de Parfum. Try again. Tomboy Neroli from Parlement de Parfum, because that to me was an interesting way of using woody ambery materials. And Eau de Citron Noir from Hermès uses them in a way that to me is marginally more palatable than in many other releases, but not entirely palatable, if I'm honest. Now this one, the new Frederic Malle, Dawn, definitely goes into the category of one of the better ones. You do not smell this and think, oh my goodness, cheap high street perfume that shouldn't cost more than, I don't know, £20 a bottle. You don't think that. But you do kind of feel it heading into that territory. Now, the long-suffering and eternally patient Madame Persolaise, when I wore this, she went bonkers. You know, she actually thought it was one of the most snuggle-worthy perfumes she had experienced on me for a long time. And I did say to her, I said, look, but it has these materials that to you quite often come across as fly spray. That's the expression that she always uses, and I think we talked about that in relation to Kouros a few episodes ago. But she said that in this she was able to take it. She said, yes, I know that I can sort of tell that those materials are in there, and yet somehow here in the context of this perfume they work. And several hours after I'd sprayed the scent, when it had really gone into the woody ambery dry down, she still liked it, whereas I was there thinking, oh my god, I can't believe Frederic Malle has done a woody amber. What do I think of this? You know, with my geek hat on, do I sort of condemn him to the furthest corners of hell, or do I acknowledge that maybe this is actually quite well done? Ultimately, you're going to have to make up your own minds. in the final reckoning, this did not, I have to say, for the sake of honesty and fairness, this did not make me swoon as much as the first Arabic release from Frederic Malle, which was The Night. That I still think is just beyond gorgeous, and it's just such a shame that it is so insanely expensive. And this is going to be in the same price bracket, by the way. The Dawn is going to be in the same price bracket as The Night. To me, it isn't quite in the same category, but the opening stages, the leathers are, the leather facets with the rose are really, really superb, and actually reminiscent of The Night in many ways. And going back to what I was saying about Frederic Malle being thought-provoking, the perfume did make me think whether I need to kind of get over my hang-ups about these woody-ambery materials and actually start appreciating them for whatever attributes they may possess. I mean, a really good friend of mine, Neil Chapman, who writes as the Black Narcissus, he just has a thing about oud notes. And yet, as time is progressing, and I know that he's smelling more and more oud scents, I can see that, even though I don't think I've actually said this to him yet, I can see that he's approaching them in a more thoughtful way, I guess in a more educated way, and starting to appreciate them for what they are. So maybe this will be the perfume that will actually make me reassess woody ambers. I kind of don't think that's going to happen just yet, but maybe if I keep wearing it, I will get to enjoy them more. But just to reiterate, Dawn from Frederic Malle absolutely does not come across as the kind of thing that you would find in the shelf of your local supermarket that may sell a few high street perfumes. But being a perfume geek, and presumably you watch this because you want to be in the company of a perfume geek for an hour, it made me think about Frederic Malle generally. And before I scroll through your comments to see what you've been saying, or maybe I should do that now. Actually, let's do that now before the comments get out of hand, because I still have lots of thoughts about Frederic Malle. So do let me know what you think of Frederic Malle as a brand. So I think we've established that you've all got audio and video, so thank you very much. Hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning into the 22nd episode of Love at First Scent. I can't believe it's already episode 22. We'll try and go for the 24 by the end of the year. And Smaranda says, nice to catch this live. Thank you very much. Usually watch in replay. Have you tried the new ones from Stark Paris? Simple answer, no, but I have seen them around. I need to try and get to them. Gemma says, do I spot some Sarah Ireland samples on the table? Yes, you do. I sniffed them a few weeks ago and would love to know what you think of them. Well, maybe we might get round to a few of them. Let's see how we go. And then somebody else is tagging, Almog is tagging Jules. You asked me to remind you when he was back live. I'm back live, Jules. Have you tuned in yet? Okay, thoughts on Frederic Malle. Please let me know what you make of Frederic Malle as a brand, what you think of Frederic Malle. I still have the utmost respect for Frederic Malle as a brand, but many of you will be aware that a few years ago he sold the brand, he sold the company to Estee Lauder. As far as we're told, he is still very much at the helm. He still, controls the scents that are created, and he is, I suppose, the creative force behind it. Hello to you as well, Fatmi. But you can't help but think that inevitably, when he joins a company as huge as Lauder, changes are bound to come in to how he does things. And I was actually at an event a few weeks ago where the journalist Sally Hughes interviewed Frederic Malle in front of an audience. It was a great event because Frederic Malle is always very, very interesting to listen to. If you ever get a chance to listen to him talking, please do so. If you ever find a YouTube video of him speaking, do watch it. He is really, really interesting, and he speaks his mind. And I was on the edge of my seat thinking, please, please, please ask him about what it's been like to be part of the huge Estee Lauder conglomerate. And the question didn't come up. I don't know whether they had decided that that would be an area that they wouldn't get into. I don't know why, because I'm sure he wouldn't have said anything controversial if he didn't want to. So we didn't manage to get an insight as to what he thinks of being part of this behemoth of a company for the last few years. So it then falls to us to kind of try and read between the lines and piece a few things together and come up Jules has tuned in. Thank you very much, Almog, for telling Jules that I'm here, and thank you very much for tuning in, Jules. Nice to have you with us. To go back to Frederic Malle, we're left with trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle to try and conjecture, really, as to what might be happening in the brand. So my personal theory is nothing more than that. It is just a personal theory. It is conjecture. But it seems to me that whereas before the brand went to Estee Lauder, the creative releases seemed to be driven by Frederic Malle's interests in perfumery. So he released, say, Portrait of a Lady with Dominique Ropion because they spent ages trying to perfect this particular scent, which was actually taken from a subset, a particular accord of Geranium pour Monsieur. And you got the feeling from all of the stories that you read about Frederic Malle and that you heard about Frederic Malle that he was also geeking out on making the kind of thing that he loved and that he wanted to smell. And since the brand has gone to Lauder, I wonder, and as I say, this is pure conjecture, so feel free to disagree or let me know what you think. I would be very interested to know what you do think. It seems to me that since selling to Lauder, the releases have been driven more by commercial imperatives and by what is seen as being needed for the market. And yet, Frederic Malle can't completely sell his soul to the devil, for want of a less controversial expression. And he'll think, okay, if I have to do something for a commercial imperative, at least I will try to do it in the best possible way that I can with that exacting Frederic Malle attention to quality. So, what do I mean? The release before this one, the release before the Dawn, was Music for a While, which I'm still struggling with, by the way. I have given it many chances because I keep kind of thinking, I keep thinking that I must be missing something in it. But anyway, Music for a While is a very overtly fruity scent. And I wonder if the powers that be at Lauder said, look, you really need to have an overtly fruity scent. And then maybe Frederic Malle, being Frederic Malle, thought, okay, if I need to have a really overtly fruity scent, fine, I will do that, but I will do it my way. And at least I will try to make it different from all of the fruity scents out there. And so I will go for a really strong, almost acrid pineapple note, and I will link it to lavender, and both of them will bring out the camphoraceous facets of each other, etc., etc., etc. And so maybe with the Dawn, somebody said, look, the thing that people are buying, especially guys, is woody ambers, so maybe you need to give us a woody amber. And so then maybe Frederic Malle thought, okay, well, if I have to do a woody amber, I want to do it the Frederic Malle way. I want to create an amazing top section for it. I want to give it to one of the most highly respected, talented perfumers of his generation, or of any generation, actually, probably. And I just wonder whether that's how things work now. And if ever I get the opportunity to interview Frederic Malle, I would ask him this question, and I suspect the answer I would get is probably no. Lauder doesn't put any pressure on me at all. I'm still doing my thing. But there's bound to be a shift. There is bound to be a shift in how things work in a company. I think we see that as well in the number of ancillary products that have been released. You know, we've got all these hair mists, we've got shower gels from Frederic Malle. And this is the sound of my brain. Sorry to say, when a new release comes along from a house like Frederic Malle, because it makes me think about the perfumer, it makes me think about him, it makes me think about industry, it makes me think about independent perfume brands being bought up by conglomerates, it makes me think about ingredient trends, it makes me think about what people buy. So in a sense, you know, you could say that almost by definition, if a perfume makes you think all of these sorts of things and sparks off so many thoughts, it might have some kind of greatness built into it. But I would, you know, the final word on Dawn is I would absolutely urge you to try it. I would urge you to think very carefully about falling in love with it, because it's going to be very, very, very expensive. I think it's already available in some markets, but I'm not sure it's quite properly out there yet in the UK. The opening section, as I said, is just such a sun-covered evocation of a North African bazaar, a North African landscape. And I will just do the press release, because I've been going on about this one for a long time, 20 minutes on this scent. But I told you there was a lot to say about this one. The press release is very, very brief. It just starts with the words, "Prelude to the sun. When the first light of day appears, a peculiar energy enters the world. Slow and steady, like the beat of a drum, it announces the arrival of the sun into the sky with all its possibilities. In this perfume, oud," I didn't say oud, oud is orbited by planets of its own. Pink pepper, cedar, labdanum and frankincense, and tinted by a sea of Turkish rose in an ode to dawn's rich colours. Meditation before day. And I'm quite happy to go along with that, except I would add one line at the end saying, and then it becomes a woody amber. And then just a few lines about the perfumer. A childhood spent in Tangier, close to natural ingredients, gave Carlos Benaim a taste for beauty. A training under legendary American perfumer Ernest Shifton gave him boldness and bravado. As for the fact that he always comes up with these elegant accords, it must come from his mysterious inner compass. Would you like to know how much it's going to cost in the UK? 50 mils will be, according to this press release, £550, and the 100 mils is going to be £925. So hey, just get yourself the 100 mils, because it's going to be so much better value. That is pretty steep. You know, there are not many perfumes out there that are in a similar price bracket. Now, catching up with comments, Jules saying, "My pleasure, just in time for Frederic Malle." I'm going to keep smiling, but my tablet is really, really annoying me at the moment, so because it doesn't seem to be catching up with what's going on. And we had this sort of trouble last time as well. Fahmi says, "Sorry I'm late, and I just missed the Frederic Malle review." Not quite, we're still kind of doing it. And I see that Smaranda's left a comment, but it's not coming up here on the tablet. Damn you, technology. I'll see that I can see the beginning of it here, Smaranda. It says, "From what I know and can tell you up front, is that of all the big beauty conglomerates, Estee Lauder," and then the comment stops. Ugh, I want to know what you said. Why can't I get the rest of this comment? And I've been told that Imtishan is watching. Hi, MT, thank you very much for tuning in. Smaranda, I don't know how it works for you leaving a comment, but is there any way that you could just sort of like copy and paste it again? Because I really want to know what you've said, and I would really love to open up the discussion more widely into your thoughts on Frederic Malle, because I can see a few lines of your comment there and none of it here. So thank you very much, Facebook or Apple or both of you, for ruining my broadcast. I'm going to cry now. I'll give this... Smaranda says, "Reload your tablet because I typed up a storm." I don't know how to though. Hang on. I can't copy paste live. Sad face. So why can I see those comments but not that one? That's so annoying. I don't know what I can do. Hang on. Let's see what will happen. Bear with me, folks. Just like go and make yourselves don't make yourselves a cup of tea, because it's not going to take that long. Right. Oh, here we go. I think we've got it. Thank you very much. Right. Smaranda said, "From what I know and can tell you up front is that of all the big beauty conglomerates, Estee Lauder are the ones that actually offer the most creative freedom and less interference." Thank you. I have heard this too. Yes, you're right. The others, especially a couple of them whose names I won't say here, offer very uptight and limiting contracts. Lauder is the most open to negotiation, and if they really want you and need you, they're very willing to be extremely flexible to your terms and conditions, and to be honest, this is why I always prefer them. Fair enough. In the sense that if a brand sells to a conglomerate, I'd rather it is acquired by Lauder than any of the other ones, which are death, in capital letters. I have heard this as well. I can't say that I've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, but that is certainly the received wisdom out there, so let us hope that that is true. And Angeline has written, "It could also be the reverse, and Frederic Malle feels liberated to try scents that are typically more well received and include a bathlight. Very good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Maybe he's now thinking, okay, maybe I can actually explore the market in a, I'm guessing that's what you mean, Angeline, explore the market in a less embarrassed way, you know, and actually kind of think, okay, well, I need to sell things. The brand, I'm sure, is going to continue going through a massive expansion. I would not be at all surprised if we see their stuff at airports soon. You know, we've already got Killian at airports. Tom Ford has been a huge factor in so many airport duty frees for quite a number of years now, and I think. I don't think I dreamt this. I think this is true. I think I also saw Frederic Malle on the John Lewis website, which means that you can order Frederic Malle from John Lewis online. The expansion will continue, and there will be other things that come with that. I've already started hearing that apparently some of their scents are available only from them, only directly from their boutiques and not from their extended retailers. Things like in Fleur de Cassis are only going to be available directly from Frederic Malle. So changes will have to take place. Nothing stays the same forever, especially not their prices. Hello to Ross as well. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Almog is just talking to Ross there. So that was a long time talking about one perfume. So we'll see how we go. I might allow myself to let this broadcast go on a little bit longer than most of the other ones. Because this is going to be the last one for a little while, and November, kind of similar to end of May, June, is a time of year when I become quite busy with other commitments. So I thought if I get one in at the beginning of November, then maybe I can do one again at the end or beginning of December, and definitely aiming for a kind of massive best of year splash out towards the end of December or the very beginning of January. So this normally happens around about the sort of 13-14 minute mark. Thank you very much for tuning into episode 22 of Love at First Scent on Facebook Live with me, Persolaise. If you are watching live, please give me thumbs up and hearts and share comments and thoughts and ask questions, because that is what I'm here for. But even if you're watching after the live broadcast, feel free to leave a comment or ask a question, because I do usually get around to every single one of them. The normal pattern of things is that these videos also then end up on YouTube, and so if you are lots and lots of hearts going that way, lots and lots of hearts going that way, so thank you very much. If you Lubov has asked a question, and I don't speak Russian, I'm very sorry, and it's not translating it for me. These videos then get uploaded to YouTube, and they are released on YouTube usually within a week of this live stream. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, and please give me a thumbs up and ask a question. We need to move on. So I think what we're going to do is go from the upper echelons of perfumes that cost almost £1,000. I'm amazed that none of you has commented about the price yet. What's the most any of you has ever paid for a perfume, by the way? I'm curious. So we go from almost £1,000 a bottle to something very, very mainstream, from a brand that sells loads and loads of bottles every Christmas, because it still has one of the best-selling perfumes in the UK, from the sort of more accessible ranges. I think we should do this new one from Tommy Hilfiger. Quick comment from Abdullah. I heard oud. You have redeemed yourself in my eyes. I've always liked oud. What do you mean, Abdullah? Wishing you well in all the good that you do, and to you as well, of course, Abdullah. I've always liked oud. Smaranda says $300 is my top limit. I'm guessing you mean Americans. And Peggy says about £200 with a sharp intake of breath. Yeah, and you'd kind of want 100 mils for your £200. Almog says same as Smaranda, give or take a little bit. I guess the plus minus means, I know, almost £1,000 for 100 mils. That's major commitment. Don't ask me what's the most that I've paid for a bottle, but I can tell you that the most that I have paid for a bottle of perfume hasn't been for me. It's been for a gift, because I'm nice like that. The new one from Tommy Hilfiger is called Tommy Now. I know. Hang on, I always have to do like a few seconds of a pose with a bottle, because I need the thumbnail for YouTube, I needed a good thumbnail image. And actually even Facebook's been really annoying with the last video. It hasn't allowed me to put up a proper thumbnail for the previous episode. So I should kind of go, Tommy now. And make myself look like even more of an idiot than I normally do. Tommy, Angeline says, looks like Mon Tommy. You're right, actually. I haven't thought that. Do you think they did that on purpose? No, hang on. I bet they didn't. But you're right. Good. You get the special prize today, Angeline, for best comment. Can I hope? Let me just have a quick look at the press release. No, it's supposed to be Tommy now, and there is a Tommy girl now as well. Quick comment from Smaranda. Yes, I would say 300 is my limit in all three big currencies: dollars, euros, and pounds. Wait, so hang on. So you mean you'd spend £300 or $300? That's cheating. Make up your mind. Which one do you want? The Tommy Hilfiger scent, as you will all be aware, that still sells extremely well, is Tommy Girl. Lubov is written sheep ? I don't know what you mean. Just on its own. This is what I've been sent is the boys Tommy. Remove before use. I've got to remove this before use. Why is it there? That's a bit strange. Okay, remove before use. You have been removed. Right, pretty smart bottle, I suppose. Let's do another little pose with the bottle. Do you think that would make a good thumbnail? Probably not. Right, let's hide this for a sec. There will be a classic scent today as well. I have a feeling it's going to be one that lots of you like. I think. I am confident. Okay, let's see. This is Tommy Now from Tommy Hilfiger, the men's version. Come on, spray mechanism. I can't even see it spraying. Hang on. Right, here we go. I do like the bottle. Oh, God, here I'm already smelling it now. Oh, boy. Okay, up close it's not quite as... No, maybe it is, actually. No, it... Do you know what? It smells like... It feels like I'm smelling two perfumes at the same time. One, actually quite attractive, sharp lemon verbena cologne. And then one that's, again, those not particularly attractive woody ambers with a massive chasm in between the two of them, a great big gap. Because the citrusy top is actually quite easygoing. I mean, you might almost find an element of it in like one of the Guerlain colognes. It's got a very realistically sparkling quality and quite lemony, so not sweet citrus, not maybe so much mandarin or tangerine, but the sharper ones. Almog says synthetic, but yeah, I'm sure it mostly is. Not that in itself is a problem at all. And I always think of lemon as being quite a 70s perfume citrus material. I don't know if it was a 70s perfume, maybe it was late 60s, but the Yves Saint Laurent Pour Homme, which has got a really fantastic lemon note, to me that kind of thing always spells 70s. Maybe wrongly. Maybe it's because of some personal association I've got. But I may be mistaken. I was kind of mistaken in the last episode with the Dolce & Gabbana one that we smelled, because that actually didn't end up being quite as horrible as I thought it might, which is really damning with faint praise, but you know what I mean. I have a feeling that this is going to start heading into quite synthetic-y wood territory. It's almost harmless so far, if we put it that way. With a not at all unattractive citrus top. Let's take a quick look at the press release. It's probably quite good if we actually do this one fairly quickly because of how much time we spent on the Frederic Malle, so we can move on. Tommy Hilfiger launches Tommy Now and Tommy Girl Now. That almost sounds like a vaguely rude command. Tommy Girl Now. Eau de toilette sprays. Tommy Hilfiger, which is owned by PVH Corporation, is pleased to introduce the Tommy Now and Tommy Girl Now eau de toilette sprays with an integrated digital campaign that celebrates the power of now, as opposed to then, as the new generation embraces change with positivity, optimism, and refreshing, irreverent style. I don't think they do, actually. The new generation embraces change with apathy and a complete lack... Never mind, don't get me started. The men's and women's eau de toilette will launch at select stores worldwide for autumn 2018. The sprays are offered by Aramis, the exclusive licensee of the Tommy Hilfiger trademark for fragrances. In other words, Lauder. This is part of the Lauder stable as well. For men, let's read about the bit for men. Tommy Now is a woody and spicy fragrance that fuses citrusy bergamot and zesty mandarin. I said I didn't think there were sweetie citruses in there. Waiting for the flanker Tommy Woman tomorrow, says Smaranda. They should do that. I mean, actually, that would be a good name for a perfume. Tomorrow. Tommy Demain. Tommy Bukra for the Arabic market. There is some mileage in this. Fahmi says, sounds familiar to Elie Saab, Girl of Now. Yeah, but that was terrible. At least Girl Now still kind of has some kind of a ring to it, but Girl of Now? Bergamot I might be able to go along with because it does have a slightly smoky facet to it. Mandarin could have fooled me. With geranium, ginger, cardamom and warm wood extracts for a modern masculine edge. The bottle cap features the brand's signature red, white and blue stripes, also seen on many flags around the world, complemented by bright white lettering against the navy glass vintage-inspired bottle. How helpful that the lettering isn't the same colour as the background, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to read it. Then there's something about the women's one. As part of the worldwide hashtag We Are Tommy Now social media campaign to launch the fragrances, a community of influencers in the world of fashion, music and travel, including people whose names I probably haven't heard of. Okay, so including Nina Schwichtenberg, who's at Fashion Carpet, Biel Juste Kalduk, Chantal True, Lizzie Vanderlicht, Jordan and Loan Collier, and Justin Livingston. I have no idea who these people are, but I may actually just look them up just out of curiosity. I would be willing to bet that they pout a lot. They will all share what now means to them. I don't want to get bogged down with this perfume, but what now means to them. Now to me depend. No, don't even go there. We'll share what now means to them through exclusive video content, of course. Tommy Now and Tommy Girl Now eau toilette sprays are available to purchase at ASOS in late September 2018. And look, so we've gone from the dizzy heights of almost £1,000 to 100 mils of this, and I'm presuming this is the 100 ml bottle. Yes, 100 mils costing £35. So you know what? For £35, this could be a lot worse. Some of the M&S perfumes that came out, like I remember the Rosie Huntington Whiteley one, which was actually I think just called Rosie or Rose. That was about £20. But sorry, even though it was done by Ralph Schwieger, it smelt as though it should have just been about a fiver. So £35 is probably fair enough for this. It's the interesting thing about it, if there is anything interesting about it, is that it almost has like an old school barbershop fougere vibe to it. You know, there's almost something Old Spice about it. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing. And Peggy says for £35 I'd spend it on a steak. So tell me, what's the most any of you have ever spent on a steak? Yeah, I mean, I would much rather, save up 3 lots of £35 and buy myself something better than this, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not going to reinvent the wheel, but then it's not trying to. Right, have a quick look at comments. Almog is being my self-appointed social media manager and just tagging people left, right and centre. So thank you very much, Almog. I appreciate it. I hope all of these people that you're tagging are not being annoyed by the fact that that they're being tagged in all of this. But no, one of them is tuned in. So Tony Palladino says hi all. Hello to you, Tony. Actually, since was it Vitaly who told us that he's in Vienna? I would love to know where all of you are, as I say, because I'm not going to be doing these videos for a few weeks. So let's do a kind of global roundup and see where all of you are. We've had Peggy's steak comment. Smaranda says, what's up there to the right of the Givenchy's? My right. Okay, so Givenchy, this. This is the latest one. I'm guessing you mean this one. This is the latest from Atelier Cologne, and it's called Iris Rebel or Iris Rebel. We'll see if we get time to. I'm guessing you mean that one. If you don't mean that one, you can see that this is the new one from D Squared. Angeline, hello from Singapore. I so appreciate you always trying to tune in, Angeline, even when it's quite late. Fahmi's in Indonesia. Wow, that's amazing. I'm not sure I've been aware of anybody actually watching from Indonesia before, apart from you, obviously, Fahmi. This is just so extraordinary that I can be sitting with a sort of dodgy Wi-Fi connection in our guest room and recording all of this, broadcasting to you. Jules says, hola from Desert Hot Springs. Hola back to you. This is the wonders of technology is fantastic. Right, I would like to keep those coming, keep questions, etc. coming. I'm going to do one more. Laura says, hiya from Mancunia. Hello to you as well. I deliberately, specifically want to go for this next because it kind of ties in to what the classic scent for today is going to be. Eva says hello from Malmo in Sweden. Hello back. This is just so cool that all from people from around the world are tuning in like this. Oh, Smaranda says, oh yes, the packaging looked so familiar it was killing me. Atelier Cologne, actually interested in the D Squared one too. They sometimes do interesting stuff. Very, very quickly then, Smaranda, seeing as you mentioned this, I have smelt these before. I hope I'm not wrong in saying this. I'm pretty sure I am right. D Squared have completely cleared the slate. They have got rid of all of their perfumes and they have rebranded with a new licensee. And this is all that is currently available from the D Squared stable. So if somewhere out there are some of the older D Squared ones that you like, you need to stock up now. There isn't anything particularly spectacular or interesting about them. The men's one is perhaps a little bit more interesting in that it brings a kind of unexpectedly soapy, almost sweet gourmand note into a masculine setting. But no, I can't say I'm overly excited about this. And actually, you are very, very right. Some of the D Squared stuff used to be quite interesting. I'm not sure this is of that sort of standard. And Alistair says, ciao from Sardinia. Fantastic. I bet it's a little bit warmer there than it is here. So, because, Smaranda says, yes, they discontinued everything, which is unfortunate. Their early ones were nice. Yeah, I agree. There were some interesting ones. This ties in with what the classic scent is going to be. This is the latest from, actually I didn't do the pose, so thumbnail. Quite cool packaging, I think, don't you? This is the latest from a brand which is now called Roos Roos, but some of you will remember it as Dear Rose. Pose for thumbnail. Inane smile. And you should just about be able to make out that it's called In the Wood for Love, which is obviously a reference to the beautiful Wong Kar-wai film In the Mood for Love. Let's get the noisy rustling out of the way quickly. Now, when it was set up, Dear Rose was a brand that was created by Chantal Ross and her daughter, who I believe is called Alexandra. Chantal Ross is one of these sort of supremely important people that the average shopper has never heard of because, and if you're not aware of who Chantal Ross is, brace yourselves for a massive revelation. Chantal Ross was creative in a sort of creative director capacity, hands-on, directly responsible for releases like Opium, Kouros, Paris, Jazz, all of those big YSL releases. Then the releases from Yves Saint Laurent when Gucci and Tom Ford were in place, so things like M7. Then Classique and Le Mal for Gaultier. Obviously at the beginning they weren't even called Classique and Le Mal. L'Odyssée, Issey Miyake. So she knows her stuff. She is one of the giants of the perfume industry, and she's one of these sorts of people. I've been fortunate enough to interview her on 2 occasions so far, and one of them actually relates to what the classic scent is going to be in a few minutes. She's one of these people, you know, you're kind of given a 20-minute slot with her and you think, oh, I need to have like a whole day with you so you can tell me all these incredible, amazing stories about all the people that you've worked with and all of the releases. I mean, you know, even if all she'd worked on was like Opium, the Gaultiers, and the Issey Miyake, you'd still want to spend a whole day finding out, because you've got sort of the whole history of late 20th century perfumery almost summed up by those scents. And actually, look, this is really interesting, because you can see that the outer packaging you may just be able to make out that the outer packaging in those gilt letters says Roos and Roos. Can you see that? Don't know which way to hold it. But the brand started off as Dear Rose, and they're still kind of working through some of the packaging, because this one says Dear Rose. And I don't know what, I would imagine this bottle is going to say Roos and Roos, because it's a brand new perfume, so they obviously wouldn't have bothered. Would this make a good thumbnail? And the motif that's on the packaging is repeated on the bottle. All of their perfumes from day one have been made by Fabrice Pellegrin, very talented perfumer. And I have smelt this once, but very, very, very briefly at the launch event. So I thought, okay, I've got a sample. I don't particularly need to pay attention to it now, but I'd like to smell it with you now and look at the press release and then segue into the classic scent. You all stop telling me where you're from. I'm going to cry now because you don't want to tell me where you're all watching from. Is Imti still watching? Because I know Imtishan is probably watching from Dubai. Okay, so this is In the Wood for Love from Roos and Roos, formerly, the artists formerly known as Dear Rose. They decided to change the name. I asked Chantal Ross this at the interview. They decided to change the name because, unsurprisingly, I mean, I actually did kind of think this when Dear Rose launched. Unsurprisingly, a lot of people thought, oh, okay, so it's going to be a brand of rose perfumes. And then so they thought, well, I'm not particularly interested in a brand of all rose perfumes, so I'll just, steer clear of them. And then some people thought, oh wow, I love the idea of a brand of all rose perfumes, I will check out what they've got. And then they turned out that, of course, they're not all rose perfumes, so those people were disappointed. So in both cases, disappointment ensued. I think it's always dodgy having an actual material or ingredient name in your brand name, unless that is what you're going to do. So, Parfum de Rosine were all related to rose in some way, are all related to rose in some way. So I think Roos and Roos is probably a wiser choice. Anyway, this is, I remember smelling it now. This is a really, really interesting take on iris and violet. And I guess what makes it interesting is that it's violet and iris, because violet can be quite a sweet, almost girly material. Usually, if a perfumer wants to evoke an old-fashioned lipstick note in their scent, they'll do a heavy violet dose or a violet-like synthetic, some kind of ionone, with rose, and you get that pink, lip-glossy, girly, very youthful kind of vibe with a retro twist, because lipstick always somehow seems to make us think of retro things, or at least it does at the moment. Iris is very different. Iris can be quite cold, quite austere, quite rooty, quite earthy, almost vegetal, quite standoffish. And the two come together here in a really interesting, and dare I say, there are some words that, and I'm guilty of this too, that are overused in perfumery, words like, seductive. But it does have a seductive quality to it. maybe because it also has an almost sad quality to it. There is something ineffably sad about the Wong Kar-wai film, about In the Mood for Love. I don't think it's a perfect movie by all means, but it is also extremely seductive as you're watching it. If you haven't seen it, by the way, you need to do yourselves a favour and just watch it so that you can say that you've seen it. The use of slow motion, the use of colours, the use of interiors is very, very evocative. And you can actually, because you're prompted to do so by the name of the perfume, you can detect that aesthetic in the composition here. And of course it's woody as well, but then iris has a woody facet, and there are woody materials that pick up on it. Mood is an interesting word to use in relation to this scent, because it does feel like a mood piece. I'd like to look at the press release, because Chantal Ross also told me in the interview that she tends not to tell perfumers, the press release isn't very long, so don't worry. She tends not to tell the perfumer, Fabrice Pellegrin in this case, about specific materials that she wants. Peggy says the movie is so good, slow yes, but haunting soundtrack, amazing soundtrack, absolutely, beautiful soundtrack. I wasn't so keen on the sequel to it. I'm not sure that worked very well. So Chantal Ross goes to the perfumer and doesn't say, look, I want to have a vetiver perfume with with a grapefruit top, etc., etc. She comes up with a story, and she hopes that the story will then lead the perfumer into a particular olfactory direction. And this, the sort of tagline for this is a romance in the damp woods of a forest. And there is a humid quality to this, and also I like to think a kind of 80s perfume quality to it, which maybe Chantal Ross herself isn't going to be able to fully get away from, because her DNA is inextricably linked with late 70s, 80s perfumery. That is who she is, that is what she's about. Because you almost wonder if you can detect hints of Fahrenheit in the violet. Maybe there's a violet leaf element to it, because of course Fahrenheit was very famously had a strong violet leaf note. There's something musky, sticky, sweet in the base. It smells like a very perfumey perfume, if you see what I mean. It smells like the kind of perfume that you would expect a very well turned out 1980s woman to pull out of her handbag. It could have been on the shelf next to, I suppose something like Isatis from Givenchy or Poison. Not that it's like, a huge monster like Poison, but it's got that grand perfumey statement about it. So, a romance in the damp woods of a forest, a new mischievous freshness where the bergamot and mandarin essences burst and sparkle, soon disturbed by the exhilarating facets of orange blossom. Potentially, possibly, but this is blended into a whole. It's a kind of orchestral expression of perfume, which is maybe the other thing that makes me think of 70s, 80s perfumery. It doesn't follow the kind of modern trend of really pushing single materials out for that kind of hyper legibility that a lot of mainstream brands want. This transparent accord, and transparent is a good word as well in a way. Peggy says, do I mean like Amarige? Potentially, yeah, although again this is not as loud as Amarige, so don't freak out if any of you have read Amarige and thought, oh my god, better steer clear of that one. But yes, that kind of symphonic quality where you get a blast of perfume that's almost a sort of abstract expression of the materials rather than pinpointing a particular one. Anyway, this transparent accord leaves room for the iris absolute and the violet, while the raindrops trickle down the bark of cedar wood in the earthy notes of patchouli and vetiver roots. Okay, so maybe the grammar of the press release is a little bit dubious, but perhaps that's because it's been translated. But you get the idea. You get the idea of a floral, almost indolic top, with then the main iris violet accord going down into a woody base. Vetiver isn't sort of overly strong, and that's the thing. Apart from the iris and the violet, there isn't anything that screams out, look, read me, detect my presence. It is much more about the blend. It is much more about the whole being rounded, and yes, there is something contemplatively beautiful about it. I'm not sure that I would say it's the best from this particular brand. My favourite is still the Mentha or Monta Religiosa, which apparently isn't going to be available on the UK market anymore. It is still part of the brand's lineup, but it won't be in the UK, which I personally think is a bit of a shame, because I really love that one. But well worth checking out. An interesting take on iris, sort of taking iris and putting it in the context of those statement perfumes from the late 70s and 80s. Sometimes old-fashioned is good. Right. I think we are going to allow ourselves to go over the usual time, because I do want to do the classic scent, and then there is one more thing that I would like to mention, but I'm just going to tidy up here a little bit, because otherwise we'll be left in the most awful mess. So while I'm doing all this, thanks to all of you for tuning in. This is episode 22 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. You're watching it live at the moment on Facebook. Or maybe not. Maybe you're actually watching it after the live broadcast. But either way, please feel free to give me thumbs up and hearts and likes and ask questions and leave comments. And if you're watching on YouTube as well, after when I've uploaded it to YouTube, please feel free to ask me questions there too. The classic scent for today is a direct link to what we've just been smelling. Let me put that back here actually, so that you can still see it for any of you who tune in afterwards. I swear one of these days when I do this, the whole thing is actually going to just fall down, and you'll see all the sticky tape propping everything up. Because what I would like to do as the classic for today is one of the scents that Chantal Ross worked on. And Peggy says, will you smell the 4711 Aqua Colonia on your table? We might be able to. It's the new one called Blood Orange and Basil. At least I think it's new. Have any of you worked out what this is yet? Chantal Ross worked on this. This was the very first perfume, unless I'm mistaken, that came out of Yves Saint Laurent when Tom Ford joined them. This packaging here, a lot of people reckon, including Chantal Ross herself, this packaging is the reason why the scent didn't end up doing very well. Because, see, this is it. How many of you actually know this? Not M7, the other one. Because this is nu, N-U, nu, as in the French word for nude, from Yves Saint Laurent. If we pop that there, it came up. See, look. I mean, Smaranda, there you go. Well done. It very innovative packaging, but apparently the packaging just, to use Chantal Ross's own words, the packaging was a disaster. I asked her a question in the interview. I said, which of the perfumes that she's worked on does she think is the most underappreciated or misunderstood? And she said that she doesn't ever really like talking about the buying public in terms of them not having understood anything, but she did hold this and M7 up as well, but this in particular, new in particular, as an example of scents which had a fantastic juice, fantastic actual perfumes, but were in packaging that just didn't work for the brand, didn't connect with buyers. Comments coming through. Smaranda says, one of my favourites ever from YSL, and I love the packaging too. Well, the packaging is certainly interesting. You know, it's kind of packaging for us, isn't it? It's packaging for perfume geeks. I still own 2 bottles, says Smaranda, and Angeline says, it looks like a cushion foundation. Do I know what a cushion foundation is? I've always kind of thought of it as a hockey puck, but actually it was Chantal Ross who described it perfectly, because she said that it always reminded her of shoe polish, you know, a pot of shoe polish, which meant that it wasn't very YSL, it wasn't very Yves Saint Laurent. By the way, I haven't finished typing up this interview yet, It will eventually end up on Persolaise.com on the blog. It's got to appear in a magazine first, but then when that's happened, it will be on the blog, and it will be on the blog probably in its entirety. Whereas for the magazine, it'll just have to. Oh, a compact. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Peggy. It is like polished, isn't it? So what was I saying? It will be in its entirety on the blog, the interview, because of course for the magazine it's going to have to follow a word limit. New is back at Yves Saint Laurent, by the way. It was discontinued, it went away, it came back, but it's part of in their sort of heritage collection. And I think it's in its current state it's not bad at all. It's fine. But purists reckon that they don't like it much, and purists also reckon that this is the one to get. This is the eau de parfum, the EDP, because apparently the eau de toilette is a little bit thinner and a bit more floral. Comment from Smaranda says, the dark cobalt blue on the inside is just gorgeous. Yeah, you're right. Smaranda says, I actually stare at it every time I use that fragrance. Do you go like this? I don't blame you. Smaranda says, I think it's back as an EDT only. You may well be right. You may be right. Anyway, this is so good. It's so good, and it should so have been more successful. It's good on so many levels. It's good because it's not automatically the kind of thing you think of when you think of a feminine fragrance, because it's doing that kind of Serge Lutin's Féminité du Bois thing of mixing incense and spices and woods and packaging them in a feminine way. It's got so much character. There's something about the sort of cardamom-y top as well that makes me think of Kenzo Jungle for Men, which is again another great cardamom top scent. And so yes, in terms of the structure, it's a spicy oriental, strong cinnamon note there as well. I'm smelling it now and actually thinking it's never made me think of Noir Épice from Frederic Malle so much, but maybe because I've got Frederic Malle on my mind, I'm kind of thinking there's a lot of Noir, there's shades of Noir Épice here as well. Smaranda, I loved everything Tom Ford did for Gucci and YSL. Yeah, so did I. Absolutely. The Gucci Pour Homme, which I've mentioned far too many times on these broadcasts, which is now back as Papyrus Oud from Parlement de Parfum. M7 for Yves Saint Laurent that he did as well. It was just all such good stuff, really, really good stuff. So it's a spicy oriental, strong incense note, beautiful incense note, those spices at the top, cardamom and cinnamon sticking out, labdanum, the smokiness of labdanum in the base, quite strident wood notes, but it's smelling wood notes like this that just seem so much more sophisticated, that makes you realise why you think of some of the other woody-ambery materials as being quite coarse and abrasive. And I've also detected pencil shaving facets to this, which immediately spells cedar. And I actually like wearing this every now and then if I want a spicy cedar perfume. And it's because it's got all of these dry elements, the woods and the cedar and the frankincense, that makes this perfume absolutely fine for a guy. Not that we need to worry about that kind of thing, but if you do worry about that kind of thing, you don't need to worry about it in relation to this perfume, because it would work absolutely fine on either a man or a woman. Particularly interesting on a woman, I think. Smaranda, I am enjoying this interaction, by the way, so keep the comments coming. People reacted the same to the infamous Gucci Rush packaging. Yes, yeah, you're right. I actually thought it's very travel friendly, no fear of breakage. But I guess a lot of consumers can be quite set in their ways, and you sort of look at this and you think this isn't Yves Saint Laurent. In the interview again, Chantal Ross says that there were no gold coloured elements in the packaging, because at the time Tom Ford hated gold, whereas gold was a very YSL colour, and so the whole thing just was probably ahead of its time. That's probably what it was, like M7. This was by Jacques Cavalier, by the way. obviously I don't have a press release for it because it's been a while since it was released. But we haven't done dates, have we? I should very quickly do dates, actually. So this was 2001, and unless I'm mistaken, Gucci took over in 1999, and this was the first major perfume release that they did with Tom Ford. The official notes are white orchid and black pepper in the heart. And then it's the base notes that get really interesting because it's like incense, check, vetiver, okay, but not overwhelmingly so. Cedar, check, cardamom, check, frankincense, check, balsams, vanilla, ambergris, yes, absolutely. And you know, you smell it as well now, and you can see how this may have led into some amouages. It absolutely would have been at home in Frederic Malle. It does remind you that there was a time when the mainstream did this kind of thing. You know, when you think of Yves Saint Laurent now, which actually from the big brands has really badly fallen from grace, particularly badly. At least Chanel, Dior, you know, when you think of the big ones, Chanel and Dior will still put out the odd interesting thing which will kind of maintain your interest and keep you going and trying to find out what it is that they're up to. But YSL, not so much, I don't think. I just need the tablet to wake up. I can see Peggy says this shade of rose gold is very on trend now. Is that thanks to Apple, do you think, Peggy? Right, let me just reload this because I've lost the stream. This is either Facebook or my tablet or just, I don't know, somebody being mean to me and giving me the evil eye. Anyway, the comments are back. So, classic choice for today. I need to wear this more often, actually. It's so good. Yes, so the other thing I was going to say about it was interesting name. I wonder if the name was a hindrance as well. Or maybe it's a clever name, because actually this to me feels the opposite of nude. It actually seems to be about concealment and layers. You know, you're kind of thinking fur coats, you're thinking dark interiors. So maybe in that sense it's a clever name, you know, like the whole thing of Angel being in a bright blue bottle and then the juice is the last thing that you were expecting from a bright blue bottle. Maybe the point here was that it's the last thing that you were expecting from a perfume called Nude, because it's not really very sheer, although it is very skin hugging. But either way, a good name, thought-provoking name in that sense. And yeah, I could just sit here for a few more minutes just smelling this, and really, really gorgeous for winter as well, I would have thought. Angeline says Yves Saint Laurent exited the Singapore market for a number of years and somehow hasn't really regained its luster, even though it's now back. No, and I'm kind of not surprised. You know, it's always with a kind of heavy heart that you find out about a new Yves Saint Laurent release. I mean, Black Opium. What else do we need to say apart from just those two words? Black Opium. Right. I'm really taken up a lot of your time and tested your patience, but there is just one more thing I'd like to do because we try to go for 5. And because this is a kind of interesting brand that I'm enjoying working my way through. It's not this one, but I will just very, very quickly say, pay attention to the words, or watch out for the name Ostens. Really exciting new brand. I don't even know if their stuff is available yet, but if it isn't available yet, it will be available very soon. And I'm sure that I will be mentioning it on more than one occasion because they have got some interesting things coming. I would like to just very quickly mention this. It's a brand called, if you can see that, Hermetica. And in the UK, they're available at Harvey Nicks. I think they're exclusive to Harvey Nicks. So before I do that, a final kind of thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Ask questions, leave comments either here or on YouTube, and give me hearts and thumbs up because my existence has no meaning without them. This is, now I think I think I'm right in saying what I'm about to say. So I will say it anyway. If I'm wrong, I'll leave a comment to say that I'm wrong. But this is a new brand set up by the people who created Memo, which has been a very successful brand. This is just their discovery set, by the way, but you will see from the discovery set that they're kind of starting in a big way, because they have started with 12 perfumes, always a little bit worrying when it's 12 so 12 here, and then they've also got an additional one which they call, I think, the Source, or just Source, because Source is an accord that finds itself in varying degrees within each of the 12 perfumes. This brand, Hermetica, has got a kind of innovative, look at how clever we are, look at what we're doing thing to it, vibe to it as well, because the perfumes are not alcohol based. And I just want to find the bit in the press release that explains this. It says, at the root of our perfumes is innocent trademark. So the word innocent, but with an S in the middle of it to make innocent. So people of a certain age will now be thinking of the Transformers movie and going guilty or innocent, and then all hell breaks loose. And if that reference means anything to you, then you have to say something now. So at the root of our perfumes is innocent, a unique patented technology developed by Symrise Laboratory. Symrise is one of the big perfume production houses in the world, like IFF and Firmenich and Givaudan. An alcohol-free composition for scents that are long-lasting and strong. The top and mid notes appear in a modern and striking tempo, revealing right away the pure DNA of the perfumes. Additionally, our fragrances have a moisturizing texture. Okay, I don't care about whether a perfume is going to be moisturizing. There was one laughing face that went over there. Was that because of my Transformers reference? Own up. Additionally, our fragrances have a moisturizing texture and can be worn under the sun. Okay, well that's something, I suppose, although it's not always just the alcohol that means you mustn't wear your perfumes under the sun. Hermetica presents a new approach in the making of perfumes that combines nature and chemistry, powerful smells, gentle on the skin, respectful of the environment, mixing history and modernity. Okay. Peggy says yes. I'm guessing it was you, Peggy. Now, as I say, I'm working my way through these, so I don't want to sort of smell the ones that I already have smelled. Of the ones I've smelled, there was one that immediately caught my attention. It was called, I can't find it now, it was called Cedarize, or Cedarize. A really interesting combination of cedar and musks. Here it is. But I'd like to try one that I haven't tried before. There is an oud, of course. There's an oud called Vertical Oud. They've got a vanilla, which is quite a kind of ordinary smoky vanilla called Vanillite. Quite hard to say. So what do we reckon? How about something called Spiceair? Okay, let's try Spiceair. I haven't tried that one. So there is every possibility that this one is going to be terrible, but we won't write off the brand entirely because I have already tried some good ones. There was also one called Jade. Hang on, just to be fair to the brand, let me find its name, because that was a very interesting one. Jade. It was Jade with numbers. There you go. Jade 888. So Jade 888. And that was interesting because it was a kind of green ginger with a white floral note. And it was really fascinating. And as it went along, it became just a little bit too predictably soapy musky. But before it got there, it was really fascinating, a really, really interesting way of presenting ginger and green notes. But this is, what is this called? Spiceair. Spiceair. I think some of the names work better than others. Peggy says for the Chinese market, the ginger, maybe, but it was interesting. I mean, it's the closest I've come to smelling something like Jardin après la mousson, the monsoon garden from Hermès, which is such a unique perfume with that strong ginger and tomato note. And that one is the closest I've come to from that. Anyway, Spiceair, and then we will finish on this, and then I will leave you in peace for several weeks. And you'll think to yourself, thank God that's him gone now. We can get on with our lives. Right, Spiceair from Hermetica, brought to you by the Transformers movie and a dead Optimus Prime. Peggy says a bit of chinoiserie never killed anyone. No, and viennoiserie not either. Viennoiserie served on chinoiserie is probably my idea of heaven. Okay. Ooh, again, see, a lot of them actually, when I was smelling them, a lot of them made me go, ooh, which is good, I think. Not enough perfumes make you do that. Okay, why does it make me go, I'm really showing my age today, aren't I? Okay, it's... If this initial reaction is anything to go by, then this is a really good name because, yes, it's got a kind of spicy, but very cool spicy aspect to it, but also something melony, maybe lily-like, and something, I know what it is, but I can't put my finger on it just yet. Certainly green, grass-like. Okay, and maybe also green in a galbanum way. And galbanum, to me, it is often quite a good way of spelling fresh air, because there's something quite lung-clearing about smelling galbanum, at least to me. Lots of people hate it, by the way, but then there are lots of people who just don't like green notes, full stop. So there is this kind of green, maybe almost Chanel No. 19 quality to it, and just this quiet injection of very cool spices, so maybe like a white pepper, maybe something nutmeg-like, but then nutmeg isn't often seen as cool, so just ignore me, I'm talking rubbish now because I'm actually quite intrigued by this. Angeline says, I love galbanum. Yeah, so do I. When it's well used, I really love it. This smells like an open space. It smells like an open space ringed by spices, and it's really white, very, very pure somehow, like some perfectly pristine white lake on the surface of the northern tip of Iceland or something like that. And yeah, okay, I'm thinking Iceland. I've said cold quite a few times already in relation to this one. There is something cool about it, maybe almost cucumber-like about it as well, you know, the coolness of cucumber. Fascinating. Let's see what they say. Now their press notes are weird because they're not really materials. They kind of they sort of mention materials, but then they kind of don't. So, okay, Spiceair has a kind of weird acrostic poem. So it's just, oh no, it's not even acrostic because it doesn't. Does it make up the word Spiceair? I don't know. But let's read it anyway. It's not very long. So Spiceair says, "Spice on air. Pearls in the clouds, clouds in the sky, sky high, high mystery, mysterious rain, rain in London, London charm, charming moon, moonshine, shiny spice, spice on air, I am Spiceair, and I see Lucy in the sky with diamonds." So yeah, that doesn't really help. And then there's a kind of schematic, can you see that? That is sort of, I guess, their version of a notes pyramid. And I have to say, hats off to anybody who tries to move us away from the pyramid and tries to actually present something else. So a kind of schematic nodal diagram like that is fine. So what does it say? So coming off one bit of Spiceair, we've got cinnamon essence. Okay, then a fresh molecule to flirt, and then a green moss molecule, and coming off the green moss node, it says London and clouds. So, see, I get something from it that is way too clean to be classed as mossy, but maybe it would be different on skin. And I don't think London, but then, you know, an outsider's perception of a place that you know very well can be very different from yours. I immediately homed in on Iceland for some reason, but it does also rain a lot in Iceland. So maybe there is something in the clouds and the wide open space. And galbanum can also kind of make you think of a certain wetness. But either way, this is intriguing. I am intrigued, and I will continue to explore this brand with interest. Phew, I think it's time we bid you farewell. I'm pretty sure, Peggy says, sounds way too clean for London. Yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure this is the longest episode of Love at First Scent ever, so I either need to say sorry or say, well, hey, I hope you're happy. Don't forget, a few hours after the broadcast, I do a little status update in the comments below Facebook, and also I transfer those comments to YouTube, where I say how the blotters have been doing, because we must remember that these are just first impressions and we can't fully evaluate perfumes just on first impressions. But let us smell the things that we had smelt. So in the wood for love so far, yeah, really interesting. Maybe becoming a little bit, no, hang on. Oh, it is, yeah. Maybe becoming a little bit more simplistically woody, but still really interesting with the cedar note. The cedar note is coming out more. The Tommy Hilfiger, Tommy now. Oh, no, now, no, it's kind of going... Peggy says, more deep diving sessions like today, please. And Fahmi says, have a nice day, sir. But if you say so, Peggy, mind you, Peggy, you may be the only one who feels that way. Loads of people may already have given up and moved on by now and got on with the rest of their lives. But thank you very much. I appreciate that, Peggy. And yeah, well, we'll just see how it goes. I had lots to say about the Frederic Malle, so what the hey. The great thing about this is that people can pause and come back and watch it in bits and, you know, listen on their commute. So it's all good. It's all good. No, the Tommy is actually doing a kind of stomach-turning Calvin Klein escape thing. So no, the YSL, the new. Oh, it's so good. So beautifully judged in the spice note. Really good. And the Frederic Malle. Yeah, see, the Frederic Malle is still pretty damn good as well. It hasn't made its woody amber notes too obvious. Probably what I would do if I were wearing this is I would actually make sure that I spray some on fabric so that it doesn't rush to its conclusion quite so quickly on skin, because of course it would do faster on skin. And Spiceair we've only just sprayed anyway. It's curious. It is really curious. They've done some interesting things with this Hermetica brand. I will have to smell all of the others as quickly as possible and write up some conclusions. So, be good while I'm away. The next episode, I'm pretty sure, won't be until about the end of November, but I will try to give you as much warning of that as possible. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the interaction. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the thumbs up and hearts going past. Have a very good November. Try not to freeze. It is really cold in the south of England at the moment. And also have a very good weekend, and just move out of the way because I have to lurch forwards to switch this off now. So take care, one and all. Bye.